Hi, I just wanted to show you my new apron I got from Misty Shooter. She made it for me. I ordered it off her site. I always thought the one she wears is so cool, so she made this for me. She guessed it. She did a perfect job. Today we're going to make oatmeal cookies from all our preps that we have on hand. We need 3/4 cup of butter. We need brown sugar, we need regular sugar, we need 1 egg, a 1/4 cup of water, we're going to need 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a cup of regular flour, that's flour I had left over, I always put them in jars. We're going to need a teaspoon of salt, we're going to need a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and we're going to need some oats. Now, I'm also going to use some pecans that I canned up in January when they were cheap. I'm going to use some walnuts when they were real cheap. And I'm going to use the chocolate chips that I got pretty cheap. These are from 2011. I believe this was the end, right after Christmas I sealed these up. You'll notice chocolate chips stay nice in an airtight container. If I hadn't put it in there, right now this would be powdery and all gray. I've kept chocolate chips up to 2 years in a oxygen depleted environment, and they last a long time. Then lucky me, I found these in my cabinet. I think my son bought them, I was munching on them, but there's a whole bunch left. So I'm going to use nuts and the berries with some of the cookies, and I'm going to use nuts and chocolate chips and some of the others. For new people just starting, this recipe calls for 1 cup of packed brown sugar. And packing means push it down. And when you can't push it down anymore and you have a full cup, then guess what? That's a full cup of brown sugar. I know most of you know this, but we do have new people that really don't. There you go. Put it in the pan with the butter. Then the recipe calls for 1/2 cup of sugar, regular sugar. I don't have a 1/2 cup, so I'm going to put in 2/4 of a cup, because it adds up to 1/2 cup. Then the recipe calls for an egg. So I put in 1 egg. Did you get that fancy wrist action? I just learned that. I was watching Noreen, I think it was, and smashes the eggs. And you know what? Since I've been doing it that way, I never got an eggshell in there. Try to do it one-handed. It's amazing. Okay, my recipe calls for 1/4 cup of sugar. I mean water. I'm sorry, water. So throw the water in there. This recipe also calls for a tablespoon of vanilla. And I made some vanilla. Watching YouTube, of course. I made some vanilla with Mexican vanilla. And it calls for 1 tablespoon. And as you know, I'm always so darn exact, aren't I? No, I'm not. I like vanilla in my food, so I put in a little bit of extra. Now we have all the ingredients in there that we need to blend that up. We need to blend that all up, and I'm going to try to hit this on film. All right. Now, since I'm trying to assimilate no electricity, so let's see what we could do with a spoon. I think we could do a lot with a spoon. I didn't always have a blender. You know, when I was raising 10 kids, I'm telling you right now, every dollar mattered. I learned how to do things with my own hands. It's all coming together nicely. Yeah, it's not all the whipped, you know, it's not all whipped up like you get with a blender. And yes, I do have a blender today. But you know what? As long as it all gets mixed up evenly, that's all that matters. See how nice that turns out? Look at that, no electricity. Now, some people would tell you, oh, mix all the dry ingredients together first. Guess what? We're in an SHTF situation right now. At least that's what we're trying to pretend we're in. So we're not going to have that luxury. Maybe you are, I'm not. I'm not going to make more dishes for myself than necessary. So I put in 1 cup of flour. I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to put in about a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Yes, just put it right into the pan. Now, we're going to blend that up in there. If you blend it up really, really good, all this pre-mixing, all that baloney is just not necessary. You know, I don't know if people just need to act like what they're doing is so hard. I know people that claim lasagna is hard. I put lasagna together in 5 minutes. So it, you know, it is what it is. You see how beautiful it all came together? Everything's totally incorporated. Look at that. 1 bowl so far. The next part of this recipe calls for rolled oats. I'm going to use my regular rolled oats. I like them. 3 cups. And there we go, 3 cups. So mix that all up in there. Just keep stirring it up, it'll all come together. Now I want you to look at this. The recipe called for 3 cups. And that's all hunky-dory, but I'm going to try to show you. It's still a little mushy to me. So I'm going to add probably another 1/2 cup oatmeal. That's better. That's much, much better. When you could take your spoon and go like that, you know you got a good batter for oatmeal cookies. Now, do you see what I've done? I've made 2 separate piles in my bowl of the oatmeal mixture. Because again, I'm interested in using 1 bowl. I make a little well in each of these. See how I do? Just make a well, because I'm going to put my goodies in there, and then I'm going to mix each individual section. See how I made a little well? You know, when I bought these pecans, they were $6.99 a pound, and I almost had a stroke then. Well, guess what? They're a whole lot more now. They were $8.99 when I went to go look yesterday, and that's cheap. That's at our Farm and Fleet, and Farm and Fleet always has the cheapest. So each one's going to have some nuts in it. Now I probably could have chopped them up, but I didn't. One section I'm going to put some chocolate chips in. See, I still got a lot. And one section I'm going to put some fruit pieces in. There you go. And I got my 2 separate little areas. And here goes Debster with God's best tool. And I'm going to mix them up. Why? Because that's the way I do things. It's just the way I do things. Try to keep them separate. It'll work out. Alright? Pretty much, that's mixed up. And I mean that in a good way. So now I have my pile over here, which is chocolate chips and nuts. And now I'm going to have my pile over here. You know, you might not be able to stand this. And I understand if you're running a restaurant, for Pete's sakes, you cannot do this kind of thing. But I'm talking about an SHTF situation, and I do not want to work any more than 1 bowl. Because don't forget, it depends. I know I have a well, but what if you don't? Are you going to be sacrificing gallons of water, for all them dishes? I'm not. And guess what? I can lick my fingers. Don't laugh about that. You lick your fingers, that's fine. And then afterwards you wash your hands. Of course you will. But I just think of things a little differently than the average bear. And I don't want to be lugging water all over the place just for dishes. And I know I got 20 kids, but they all have their individual jobs to do in SHTF. Mine is basically the cook. And, of course, the master gardener. But I got a feeling Ted's gonna swipe that idea. Hey, you know what? I can taste this now. Oh, them are gonna be good. Look at that in a SHTF situation. We got chocolate nut cookies, and we got chocolate fruit cookie. I'm gonna set my oven for 350. I'm gonna get out my big cookie sheet. Now this recipe says ungrease cookie sheet. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna use parchment paper. And I'll tell you a little secret about parchment paper. If you use it, you don't throw it out every time you make a batch of cookies, you save it. Mine gets so dark brown you think they're paper bags. I use parchment paper over and over and over again. And it works. It keeps on working. So there's my parchment paper. And you know, I gotta tell you something I always find funny. There's always somebody who will tell me how I can't do something even though I've done it 1,000 times before. I'm telling you, parchment paper might be a little bit expensive when you buy a whole great big roll, but not if you use it the way I use it. This thing's 3 years old, for God's sake. I will use this parchment paper till it's brown, like a paper bag. Another funny thing is when I make a recipe and it tells me there's 5 dozen cookies in it. Well, maybe Munchkin cookies, but I like cookies. I like to have a couple bites to every cookie, so this is not going to make 5 dozen, more like going to make 2.5. Well, you know what? I might get 3 dozen out of here. These 6 are the chocolate chip pecan oatmeal, and these 6 are the fruit bit oatmeal. Now, Cat's Cradle taught me how to make dehydrated fruit cocktail, and I was just thinking how cool that would be. So I might have to make another batch and use my dehydrated fruit cocktail. I loved that, and my family just kept eating it. I'm telling you, I have to hide my preps all the time. Okay, the oven's at 350. We're going to take our cookies and we're going to put them in the oven. Okay, put them in the oven for about 15 minutes. While the cookies are cooking, I'll get out my cooling tray and a spatula so that now I can run over and put together the menu for tomorrow, Meals in a Jar. I have a few neat ideas for you and I think you'll like them. Okay, after 15 minutes, I'm looking at my cookies. They're not what I want. So I'm going to put them on for another 3 minutes. I kept these cookies in for an extra 4 minutes, maybe 5. Look how beautiful they are. They're nice and brown. They're nice, good texture. Now, oatmeal cookies get harder as they soften. The nice thing about parchment paper, and I am going to show you, I use it again and again. Look how easy that picked up. You're not scraping. Look at this again. Look how easy that is. If you want a cookie, let me know. Uh-oh, foiled again. Ted just pulled in the driveway. These cookies will not be safe. But what I'm going to do is use half-gallon jars, and I'm going to fill up cookies. I'm going to put the one type in one and the one type in the other. I will put an oxygen absorber in there, but it's almost ridiculous because there is no way these cookies are going to make it till the end of tomorrow night. Trust me. But every once in a while, I try to put these away. And one time I even forgot I had a can. I had put them in Mylar, and they actually were a year old and tasted good.
It's about time you made some cookies.
Oh,
Those are good.
yeah? All
Yeah.
right.